Hi, and welcome to another episode of Inspiring Business. My name is Mark Bullock, and I'm the co-founder of Foamblogger.net, Videosocials.net, and Video Interview Podcast Services, or VIP services, where we facilitate marketing services and systems for professional service firms, including attorneys, financial professionals, coaches, and consultants. Every episode, I interview business thought leaders who make a difference in the world through their services, their products, or their ideas. You can find the show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and more. Today, I'm super excited because my guest is my dear friend and longtime client, Ada Hasloecher, who is the founder of Divorce and Family Mediation Center here on Long Island, New York. Welcome, Ada.
Thank you, Mark. A pleasure to be here today.
Fantastic. So we had talked beforehand. We have quite the history together. You've been a client first, and then became just a dear friend through a variety of services that we've designed, which I'll talk about later. Everything from originally getting you online and teaching you how to market yourself in the online space, et cetera. Your background and experience is at this point, from my perspective, you're a true master at your craft. But I wanted to come back to, why did you become a mediator in the first place?
Great question. I had been a commercial real estate broker for about 18 years. And it's a very competitive kind of dog-eat-dog profession. I had done it for a long time. And I got to that point where I sort of hit the wall and it just wasn't resonating for me anymore. And I needed to find something else to do professionally where I was able to use my negotiating skills. As you know, Mark, I'm a real people person. I like to bring people together. I like to find common ground. And while the real estate profession provided that, there was something that was really missing there. And I really needed to find something else to do. So I hired a career coach to actually help me. You know me, I'm a big proponent of working with professionals who are at the top of their game to help us navigate through life. And I work with this wonderful career coach in the city. And it was so interesting how mediation sort of kind of bubbled up. You know, I took the battery of tests about interests and skills and all of that. It was fascinating and a lot of fun. And one of the things that came up was that, yes, while my negotiating skills and my interest in that was high, the profession that I was in wasn't really resonating emotionally with me. So the trick was to find what that would be. And, you know, when this is what happens in life, when you're on the path, whatever that path is, your mind is open, your heart is open, your soul is open for whatever the universe is bringing your way. I was still subscribing to the Long Island Business News, where they always profiled the different industry. And it just so happened that while I was working with her, one week I opened up the paper and they're profiling matrimonial attorneys and mediation professionals. And I thought, mediation, I'm sort of kind of doing that already. And I didn't know if you needed to be a lawyer to do that work. And I found out, no, you don't. And there was a training in the city and I signed up to do the training and I never looked back. I never looked back from that day forward. And in fact, as you know, I co-trained with the people who trained me back in 2003. And I've been training with them for 12 years now. And I love the training because it's like learning all over again. You know, when you teach, you learn, you go back to the fundamentals, and it's just an extraordinary experience. In fact, I'm in the middle of a 40-hour training, as we speak right now. So that's what happened. That's how I did it.
And I'm going to fast forward a little bit before I ask you the next question. And the fact of the matter is you fully immersed yourself.
Totally.
I mean, this is not just a profession for you. This is a lifestyle. And
right.
One of the reasons that I wanted you on the show, and one of the reasons I created Inspiring Business to begin with, is You use the word, it's in your soul, right?
Mhm.
It makes a difference for the world around you. And that kind of leads then to the next question is, why mediation and not litigation? Because I don't think everybody really understands that.
Well, it's interesting because back in 2003, when I jumped into this world, and as you know, as soon as I walked out of that training, when people asked me, even before I had my first mediation client, what do I do? I said, I'm a divorce and family mediator. So yes, I jumped in, totally immersed myself, and got myself involved in all the different areas that helped me become a better and better mediator. Because as we know, 40 hours of a training is just the tasting menu. It's not the whole thing. And my whole life has been about learning and growing and educating myself and personal growth and development and whatnot. So yes, I was out there networking. I was meeting people in other professions who helped me grow not only my business, but were good resources for me to fill in the blanks in areas that I needed help with, and also to be able to provide resources for my clients when it was necessary to do so. And it's always necessary to bring in somebody to help us with certain things that we need to do. Why mediation and not litigation? It's so simple. When people are thinking about separating and divorcing, there really are two options. They're either going to mediate or they're going to litigate. Litigation is an adversarial process. Even when couples want to do things in the easiest, most amicable way, the system is just adversarial. And what happens is that each party hires a lawyer who's only advocating for them. So it's really a win-lose situation. And we mediators take the position that we're working with the whole family. It's not about you getting everything and you getting nothing. It's about preserving the whole family, making sure that the children are well taken care of and they have two loving, authoritative parents who are going to continue to co-parent them in a post-separation world. And it's about finding all the ways that they'd be able to preserve the family structure, although the parents are no longer living under the same roof and are separating. So it's not easy, as we know. All right. We always say we mediate. It's not for the faint of heart. We have to be the Buddha in the room. We're dealing with legal things. We're dealing with financial things, emotional things. What's going to happen with the marital home? How are they dividing their assets? And how are they going to support two separate households? You know, it's a lot less expensive to live together than it is to live apart. So there are so many aspects of the work that we do with our couples in mediation to help them do things, as we say, as amicably and less contentiously as possible. It's a lot less expensive a process, and it's a more streamlined process. Not that we're running any races here, but a litigation could take 2 years, 3 years. And think about it. I mean, you're living in limbo until things ultimately get settled. Where in mediation, we're kind of working together every week, every other week, and we're staying on track with things. So the closure that the couples have happens much more quickly than what would happen in a litigated setting. I do not know why anybody would litigate a separation and a divorce. I've worked with high net worth and high conflict couples, and they get their work done in the mediation. Now, is it for everybody? No, nothing. There's no one size fits all. Nothing is for everybody, but it's for a lot more people than people realize. And you know, Mark, you and I have talked about this. When I started mediating back in 2003, and I told people that I'm a mediator, they said, "What's that? Meditation? What's a meditator?" Right? Yeah, actually had to explain what that was. But mediation has really gained a lot of traction over the years. The internet, you know, social media has really opened up the world. So a lot of people, I mean, I get a lot of referrals from former clients, but people Google, and that's how they find mediators. They know that the lawyer route's going to be extremely expensive, and they don't want to bludgeon each other. They really want to figure it out together and really do what's best for their kids. Because I always tell my clients, your children are the unwitting participants in the mediation, and I will be the voice for them because they're not here to speak for themselves. And those things need to be considered.
Absolutely. And we could literally go on for hours and hours of all the different potential benefits and et cetera, for mediation. But one of the things that always struck me, because I drank the Kool-Aid back when you introduced me to what mediation was,
That's right.
before you even became a client, right? So, and that is, why would you hand your life moving forward over to a judge who doesn't know you, doesn't know your family, doesn't know your children, doesn't know that basically anything about you, when you have the opportunity to have a series of conversations and negotiate in good faith through a mediator to make your own choices about how you're going to live your life and raise your children moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
I know. I mean, the judges, they're overwhelmed. The court system is overwhelmed. There's so many nuances in every family. You might have a child with special needs. You might have some financial issues that the judges, they're doing the best they can with the information that they have. But at the end of the day, you're right. You're asking a stranger to make a decision for you. I had an opportunity many years ago. I was invited to the Suffolk County Bar Association's holiday dinner. Don't ask me how I ended up there. And when I walked there was a cocktail hour, and then there was the dinner. And when I walked into the room where the dinner was being held, by the time I got into the room, most of the tables were already filled. And there was a table to the left of the door with a couple of empty seats. So I asked the gentleman sitting there, would it be okay with you if I sat here? And he said, no, come and join us. It turned out that it was the table of the judges.
oh
Not only was I not the only non-attorney in the room for the dinner, but now here I am sitting with the judges. What was fascinating was that this judge who I was sitting next to, and we had a phenomenal conversation, and he confided in me that he said, look, the attorneys in this room, they're wonderful. They work hard. It's challenging work. It's not for everybody. He said, but the truth is, I wish that most of my couples who come into my courtroom would mediate and do the work themselves. He said, because all I am, and I'll never forget this, he said, all I am is a little guy in a big black robe, wielding pretty much a blunt instrument on these families. And I thought that was such an incredible confession. And I've told my clients this many times. Sometimes the mediation, can get a little hot, and there'll be some threat. I'm going to call my lawyer. I'm going to, and I say, okay, before you do that, okay, and you're totally within your right to stop the mediation process and go the lawyer route. But let me just give you a little bit of a reality check about what's likely to happen. And I'm going to ask you to just take a deep breath, take a step back, reboot. Let's reschedule for next week. And let's try to just bring the temperature down in the room a little bit and figure out the best way forward. And the other thing, Mark, and I tell my clients this too, nobody's getting everything they want. We're all adults in the room. You don't get to eat ice cream every night for dinner and live to tell the tale, right?
yeah.
Okay. So compromises are going to be made. It has to happen. The thing is, we want to make sure that everybody's needs are met, given the financial resources that are available and the emotional resources that are available. And again, keeping the children in mind while they are working out their separation from each other. That to me is really key. If they can keep their mind on that, the mediations are generally pretty successful as a result of that. Yeah.
Outstanding. And I know that you've worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients and people, right? These are people. The word client in Webster's, unlike the word customer, right? So clients are under our protection.
Yep.
Customers are people that we sell products and services to, so they are your clients. I know that, but they're people, and they're people that need a little guidance. They need a little bit of a perspective shift, that they can start to disarm their defenses. You've wronged me, so I've got to wrong you back, et cetera. And as you've already indicated, the entire litigation field is designed to kind of turn that to exaggerate that, to take it to the next level. When mediation does the exact opposite. The mediation from those that I know that have worked with you and other mediators allows them to learn to communicate perhaps better than they ever did in their marriage, and allows them the possibility of having a real and full life going forward, rather than carrying all this vitriol and this negative energy and this anger, et cetera, that the court system is simply not designed to help them resolve, to help them deal with.
And also, because it's so vitriolic in that adversarial system, the question is, by the time they get wrung out of that system, how are you going to co-parent your kids? How are you going to be left whole yourself,
right,
in order to be a good parent? And that's what people don't think about. They think, the lawyer's going to get me this, and the judge is going to. First of all, you don't know if the judge had glass in her cornflakes that morning when you stepped into the courtroom, right? You're always rolling the dice with what's going to happen there. And yeah, you're right. I mean, as difficult as a mediation can be sometimes, because they do have to talk to each other, they do have to settle. I know, and I tell them this all the time, the last place in the world you expected to be was in my office doing this work, all right? But the question on the table now is, how are you going to do this now and into your future? And you are going to be when couples have children, they're going to be involved in each other's lives pretty much forever. The kids are going to graduate, they're going to get married, they're going to be grandparents together. What do you want your future to look like? I know for myself, you know me, Mark, I walk on the sunny side of the street, right? I accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative as much as I possibly can in my own life.
Right.
And I try to bring that into the room with my couples too. And, I also ask them, that expression, when you hate somebody, it's like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Right.
And that to live with that anger and that frustration and that bitterness, it just poisons you. Again, I'm not naive. I know I'm married. This is my second marriage. I know what goes. Listen, we know what goes on. Marriage relationships are hard. Sometimes your friendships are hard. Your relationship with your family is difficult. Marriage is no different. But somehow, some way, we've got to find a way, especially in the world we live in now. We have to start talking to each other. We've got to find what's good, what we have in common, and speak to that and draw on that and pull that out in order to not only do what's best for the whole family. And again, I keep saying this, I have my arms around the whole family. Attorneys are just advocating for their specific clients, and the kids kind of get lost somewhere in the middle of that. We mediators, we say we're like the Buddha in the room. We're holding the whole family together and helping them transition that family structure into something new, and it'll be different, but that doesn't mean different has to be a bad thing. It could be sometimes better. Sometimes it's healthier for the parents not to be living together and arguing, or, so I've had couples say to me, we don't fight in front of the kids. Okay, first of all, that may be true. But you may be arguing when you may think the kids are not hearing, and they have big ears and they're listening because their antenna are up, right? Sometimes the silence, the not communicating,
right,
is worse than the fighting.
Right.
The kids know something's going on, and I always tell my clients, you don't want to make the children the messenger, the monkey in the middle, and the secret keeper. If you can avoid that, then your kids are going to thank you.
So I know that this has to have had an impact on you, right? As a human being. So how has being a mediator all these years and working with thousands, probably more than 1,000 people at this point, and helping them through this extraordinarily difficult process and transition in life, how has it affected you professionally and in your personal life?
I've learned to understand, when people will say to me, like, how do you deal with, a high conflict couple or a high conflict person? When I see an adult, I'm going to use the word misbehaving,
Mm.
right? Lashing out, being angry, maybe thinking in a vindictive way, whatever that could look like. I know this is a person in pain. I know this is somebody who either never got what they needed to get in their life growing up, or certainly not getting what they need now. There's a fear about what's going to happen on the other side of a separation. Even though a marriage could be not good for a long time, it's kind of better the devil you know for some people.
Right.
And the fear of what's going to be on the other side of that. Am I going to meet somebody? How am I going to manage financially? How are the kids going to be angry at me? All of those things. So I've always, kind of been a Big Tent person, but it's really heightened my ability to understand how people are, and just cut people some slack, give them the grace, understand where they are and what the worry and the fear and the concerns are. Because that is a lot of what we're dealing with in mediation. When people are arguing with each other, they're worried.
Right.
They're worried. And we need to address the worry. We have to address the fear. Now, I tell them, is it going to be perfect when we get done with this? No, it's not going to be perfect, but we are going to do the best we can. And as my mother says, best is best. You can't do better than your best, right? Yeah. And some people actually do better on the other side of the separation. They communicate better. The tension and the frustration and the aggravation that they have with each other really abates when they're not under each other's feet and, annoying each other, and this is, and I understand that, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you're resolving conflict, right? It is conflict resolution.
It is.
And I deliberately leave out the first word of that I would like the entire industry to abolish, and that is alternative.
Oh, Mark, you and I are on the same page with that. To me, the litigation should be the alternative and mediation should be the way of the world. I absolutely agree with you. Yeah.
So along with that, and you needing to get the message out into the world, and as you talked about when you first started, you found yourself having to explain what was a mediator, what was your purpose in life. And don't you have to go to an attorney and and go to war, right? So I mean, and you were one of our first clients in that arena. So if I may, I think it's a good segue for how we came to be and what it is that we do with clients like you. And that is, we started out as practice marketing advisors. And what we were doing was we were advising attorneys and mediators and financial professionals and CPAs, et cetera, on how to word of mouth market, how to get the word out, how to engage in social media, how to network, how to all of that. In that process, and as social media started to build, and as the importance of websites and online content started to come into play, our biggest issue that we ran into as we were advising our clients was getting the content out of them, and then where to put it and how to put it and where to post it, how to publish it, how to promote it, etc. So we invented a process that we called Foambar. And the basic premise is we have an editor call you, and in 5-10 minutes, you have a conversation. They ask you a couple of questions. You have a conversation. We record that. We transcribe that. We professionally edit that. We get back with you, and you go through it and say, yeah, this works. And we learn your voice, et cetera, et cetera. You're the author. It's original content. This is not something that you're having some, writer overseas, write for you, some canned content. You are the author. We're a publisher and promoter of that content for you. So that was Foamblogger, and some of our clients. This was more than a decade ago, and some of our clients like to draft, like Ada likes to write the first draft themselves rather than be interviewed for it. But we provide the accountability system, the publishing schedule, the Q&A, the editor, et cetera, and then getting it all out there. So the next step for us, based off of what our clients needed, was video socials. And what video socials is we worked with you, Ada, and a number of other clients on trying to get videos for your websites and potentially even doing video blogs. And our client, and it's absolutely possible to hire a videographer and hire a video production team and get that done. But you can spend thousands of dollars and hours of time and massive amounts of nervousness in trying to put together, a few couple of minute videos to have on your website. My experience in my life was I joined Toastmasters 35 years ago and stood up in front of the room and almost passed out from an anxiety.
I know.
And fast forward a year later, I was the president of the club, and we had launched 2 or 3 other clubs, and I know that both you and I have significant experience speaking in front of a public audience. But there wasn't anything to allow people to get comfortable in front of a camera in order to get their feedback from their peers as to how they were coming across. There wasn't a club that gave us a place to go and a time to be there and the ability to take advantage of all these wonderful technologies that we have now, called a web camera or a studio microphone, inexpensive, fast and easy, but sitting there talking to that inanimate object and not having the feedback from peers to know what we said, if it came across the way we intended, et cetera. So we put together video socials. And by the way, so Foamblogger is foamblogger.net. That's the website for that. You can check that out. For video socials, it's videosocials.net. And we'd love to have you as a guest if you want to be able to put together short video content for that purpose. And then now we are more in the development. We have quite a number of clients that are working that we're working with to help them with video interview podcasts. So this is the longer form video, like Ada and I are doing now, which is to have a deeper conversation, and not only have that available as a video on YouTube and or a video on your website, but also to extract the audio from that and have it go out to all the various podcasting and other social media platforms as well. So in that arena, what people who have got experience with that or have tried to take that on, there's just a myriad of tasks and work and scheduling and rescheduling and having an intake process for guests, et cetera, et cetera. So we're refining our process so that we can do it for you. And as I spoke with a client for that service, that's, it's a new service, a new client. I've been working with her for a couple of months. Her mentor does their own show, and they spend hours a week to be able to be ready to do a podcast and then the follow-up from that podcast. And then in addition to that, they have staff that are doing all the logistics behind the scene, et cetera, et cetera. And, her words to me was, $300 an episode to save me all of that time and all of that staff time and everything else. It's an absolute no-brainer. Right. So if you have an interest in doing podcasts and doing video interviews, these types of things online, I encourage you to go to videosocials.net/VIP service. And of course, there'll be links to all of this and all of Ada's information associated with however you're consuming this content. So sorry, it took a minute, but I felt that it's important for people to understand the back service, because we created everything that we do for you, Ada, and for people like you. In other words, you're people that are trying to make a difference in the world, who are trying to make the world a better place. And that's inspiring, hence inspiring business. Which leads me to my final question for you. And I think we all get a sense of that just from the conversation we've already had. But how is being a thought leader, because you very much are in this industry of divorce mediation, how do you feel that inspires others?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, the fact that I changed careers at 50 is very inspiring to a lot of people who are in jobs that are no longer resonating for them, right? So that's one thing. And as you know, when I stepped into the world of mediation, I jumped in, feet first, head first, and just kept swimming. I became a member of the New York State Council on Divorce Mediation. I served on the board for 6 years. I've been involved on a number of committees, the conference committee, and I co-host a monthly peer group here on Long Island, even though we're doing it on Zoom, and we have people from all over the state who join our peer group. I love what I do. I'm passionate about this work. And I think that inspires people, right? To know that, to find what we're meant to do. It took me 50 years. I dabbled in lots of different careers, and I couldn't find a place that really worked for me. But all of the jobs that I had and work that I had done was all education. I don't think any education is wasted. Even you could be in a job that you feel is like a dead end job, but there's some part of it that kind of you absorb it and it becomes part of who you are. And at some point, it all kind of comes together. That's what happened for me when I walked into that mediation training. I remember calling my husband on the break of the first day, and I said, everything in my life has led me to this moment to do this work, and this work will see me out. As long as I've got a brain in my head and I can do this work, I will do it. I will do it. So I think that's what inspires people who see people doing what they love and do it with their full heart, I think is very, very inspiring to people. And, I mentor people because you have to pass it forward. I remember the woman who mentored me, my dear friend, Sidel Sloan. She passed away a number of years ago, but she took me, when I became a mediator, she kind of took me under her wing and mentored me. And I'm doing for others what she has done for me, because we want to raise the bar on this work. Right. We want to encourage people who want to do it to get out there and do it. And really spread the love and the peace, right? Especially in the world we live in now. We need the peacemakers out there. We really, really do. So I encourage anybody who thinks that this is something that they can do, that they want to do, to come and do the training with us and find out what it's all about. Yeah.
So, and is always the case when we inspire in one area of life, it inspires in the other, because what I thought you were going to say, because you didn't know I was going to ask you that question, what I thought you were going to say was the inspiration that you give your clients. And how that impacts not only them individually, but them and their family and their extended families.
Right.
And their work environment and the people that they work with, because once you can get past and move forward from the anger, the frustration, the dealing with the changes that are required, et cetera, you show up all throughout your life as a more complete and whole human being. And so I'm going to say it for you. What you do helps people to be, they kind of lose a bit of that complete and whole human being when they're going through a divorce.
Right.
And you help them to regain that and to have complete families that they're carrying forward that value for, not only for themselves, not only for their kids, but again, for the entire orbit of all the people around them. So when you're making a difference for one person or two people, or a couple in mediation, you're making a difference for potentially hundreds of others. Right?
There's definitely a ripple effect. When we do the training, we there's so many aspects of the training: the legal, the financial, the parenting, all of that, right? The one thing, and I tell the class this, the one thing that we can teach you is to care. That we can teach you. Returning the phone calls every day, really paying attention to the client and what they need, really listening to them and helping them in all the ways that they need help. And every client is a little different. You have to be all in with that. All right. Anybody could learn the techniques and the skills and all of that. And, but there's something else that you bring. It's yourself. It's your love. It's your care. It's your concern. And this work that we do as mediators, that is basic. That has to be there first. Everything else kind of falls into place after that, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
So there is the inspiration. And Ada, my dear friend, thank you so much. We literally could go on for hours.
Yes, we can.
and because we know, and in a way, I mean, my purpose in life that I chose in my 40s was to make a difference for those who make a difference in the world. And I've chosen to do that through Practice Marketing Incorporated and through the services that we provide, because yes, not every single client or every single member of Video Socials or everything else are all, the top of the game when it comes to caring. Most actually are, and almost all want to be, right? And that it really, even just being successful in being able to do a 2 or 3 minute video blog. Our whole process is to help people learn how to be themselves and to allow their compassion and their concern for the audience, for the people that they're speaking to, not this inanimate object called the camera, but the people they're speaking to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And just being themselves and allowing that concern and compassion to come through in developing valuable content is where it's at. And so thank you for being a guinea pig for Foamblogger. Thank you.
I was going to put in a plug for you, Mark. I mean, I was your guinea pig I remember when you were thinking about launching Foamblogger, because what was happening was that you got your clients to a certain point, but you knew that they needed the content on the website because that's what needed to happen. And I remember you were running that concept of Foamblogger by me on a coaching session that we had, and you asked me if I would, be a guinea pig, and you know me, I'm always into do that. And I was your guinea pig with Video Socials as well. I've written, anybody who can go to my website, you'll see I have a lot of written blog articles that, thanks to you and that whole system, I was able to get that fresh content and really build up, my ranking, on the search engine. And then you realize that people weren't reading and you needed to do something else. And so you and Vic created Video Socials. I love Video Socials because 3 minutes to just lay it out, give an example, talk about what we do, how we do it. To me, it's brilliant. And I love meeting my club group on Thursdays at 11 o'clock. I mean, some of them have become very good resources for me as well. So it's, I'm there to do my videos to get the content on my site, but there's another component to the Video Social clubs that, you can't explain to anybody till they get in there and they start doing it. And it's been fantastic. I mean, I look forward to the meetings every Thursday. It's really, it's easy. And also what I love is your integrity, Mark. You always say it's going to be an hour. So we log on at 11 and we're off by 12 o'clock, sometimes even earlier. It's easy enough to block out that hour once a week to get the work done. And I have an incredible body of work doing the videos now. I love it. I really love it. So thank you for that.
Well, you're very, very welcome. And if you have a business that you think makes a difference in the world and you need some help getting the word out there, it's foamblogger.net, videosocials.net, and the videosocials.net/VIP services if you're interested in the podcasting, etc. Ada, my friend, literally we could keep going on, but thank you so much for your friendship, for your support and encouragement, and it's been and continues to be an honor to work with you and those like you that are out to make a difference in the world.
Right back at you, my friend. Thank you for this opportunity today. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and thank you.
Okay.